Select Side B from the RadPad Calculator menu bar. Side B has a scroll bar below the slide chart to move the scales, and a tube selection chart below that. The tube selection chart will assist in selecting the size of tubing recommended for particular applications such as residential, commercial, industrial, and types of floor structures. The selection of tube size and spacing is part technical and part personal preference. In general, smaller tube diameter requires closer spacing than large diameter tubing. Closer spacing typically produces a more even surface temperature and can deliver more heat. The tube selection chart, along with the suggestion table on the slide chart, provide guidance by listing common size, flow, length, and spacing, found in most radiant floor systems. To continue with our example from side A, 1/2 inch tubing is chosen. We will use the 9-inch spacing suggested on the slide chart for a more even surface temperature. In that example, it was determined that 20 BTUs per square foot would be required to heat our 20-foot wide by 30-foot long sample room. A spacing factor is provided above the tube spacing window on side B of the RadPad. This factor, multiplied by the area of the room, will result in the total amount of tube needed. In our sample, a spacing factor of 1.3 for 9-inch spacing, multiplied by 600 square feet, reveals that approximately 780 feet of 1/2 inch tube will be required to do the job. A return to the suggestion table shows 300 feet is the approximate length of a circuit, when using 1/2 inch tubing. Divide the total tube of 780 feet by 300, and round to a whole number. This indicates that at least 2 circuits are needed. Divide 780 feet by 2 and the result is 2 circuits, each 390 feet in length. The next steps will determine if this circuit length is appropriate. The number of circuits and circuit lengths can always be adjusted if the flow or pressure drop is too great or too little. Using the scroll bar at the bottom of the RadPad, line up the 20 BTUs per hour floor output under the 9 inches spacing mark. In the window to the right, read the flow per tube under the 390-foot tube circuit length. The flow per circuit is 0.5 gallons per minute. A check of the suggestion table indicates that this is close to the 0.6 GPM listed for 1/2 inch tube, with 9-inch spacing. Using the scroll bar again, place the 0.5 GPM flow per tube under the arrow in the 1/2 inch ID window. Find the 390-foot mark in the pressure drop window at top right, and read the pressure drop of the circuit above the mark. In this case, it is 3.7 feet of head. In summary, we used side B to determine the following. Tube size, 1/2 inch. Tube spacing, 9 inches on center. Total tube for the job, 780 feet. Number of circuits, 2. Length of each circuit, 390 feet. Flow per circuit, 0.5 gallons per minute. And, circuit pressure drop, 3.7 feet of head. To determine the total system requirements, add together the flow through all the circuits. In our example we have 2 circuits, each requiring 1/2 GPM, for a system total of 1 GPM. To arrive at the system pressure drop, select the highest circuit pressure drop from a single circuit, and add that to any additional pressure drop through the supply system, such as a boiler, valves and piping. Clicking on the worksheet in the menu bar will open a new tab containing the single zone worksheet. The worksheet found in the menu bar can be used to collect the design data for our sample. As in side A, the worksheet stores data and completes some of the calculations. Scroll down to side B of the worksheet and enter the data collected. Tube, 1/2 inch. Spacing, 9 inches. The total tube calculated is done automatically. Enter 300 feet for the suggested length. We see a result of 3 circuits at 260 feet, which may be shorter than optimum. We can try a longer length by entering a longer suggested length of 325 feet. That gives us 2 circuits, of 390 feet. By using the RadPad slide chart, we found a circuit of that length requires 1/2 gallon per minute flow at 3.7 feet of head. Once this information is entered, be sure and save your work before closing this window. Use the icon on the right to download the form as an XLXS file. For more information or instruction on the use of the RadPad Radiant Floor System Calculator, please visit radpadcalculator.com.